Hello guys, yesterday, really late at night for Ukraine, we've learned that our documentary 20 Days in Mariupol received an Oscar. This is for the first time in Ukrainian history, and we are super grateful for the recognition, global recognition of this documentary also by Sundance, BAFTA and many more festivals. Film festivals. It was also shown before the United Nations General Assembly 2023. But I totally understand what the director of 20 Days in Mariupol, Mstyslav Chernov, meant when he said, while receiving his first Oscar, he wished he would not have to film this documentary. He would not have to see all he saw in Mariupol during this first 20 days of siege. Unfortunately, Russian occupation of the city continues. More than 50,000 civilians died in the city, and it is a symbol of Ukrainian resilience, but also Russian violence. It is an important signal to the community. It is an important sign of global support, but it is also an important chronicle of Russian crimes. Let me tell you more about this Oscar ceremony, what it means for ordinary Ukrainians, and why it is so important now. My name is Anna, and I vlog daily from Ukraine since the start of the brutal Russian invasion. So if you're new to the channel, you support Ukraine, please subscribe and help us fight against Russian propaganda and fake news. And my longtime friends, check your subscription status and hit notification button. I know many of you watched 20 Days in Mariupol. I know many of you know it is a very difficult film because it tells the real story of the first 20 days of siege of this very beautiful city on the shores of the Sea of Azov, a symbol of modern Ukraine, a beautiful city that is totally destroyed now by Russian invaders. The story of Mariupol is very tragic, and when I think about its future return to Ukraine, I cannot imagine it as an ordinary city anymore. This is the place that was heavily bombed by Russian invaders since the very start, since the 24th of February. And that's exactly when the team of the film representing Associated Press traveled to Mariupol to fix all the historical events. And they've spent 20 days there collecting evidence, spending time in bomb shelters with people under shellings, witnessing the destruction of the maternity house, fixing how quickly graveyards of civilians grew around, recording children who were killed by Russian troops, and many more crimes. I know it was very difficult for them to work in such conditions, and honestly, it is a blessing that they survived because many people, talented photographers, videographers, writers, children, died and stayed in Mariupol forever in unknown, unnamed graves. This is what Ruski Mir brings to this world. And telling the story of filming, Mstyslav Chernov often described how difficult it was to send the collected material. They were really afraid they won't be able to get out of the city, and they wanted to preserve everything they filmed, and they only managed to send 10% of the materials because there was no internet in Mariupol. And somehow they managed to leave the city via humanitarian corridor and make this extremely important historical chronicle. And it tells a lot. It tells about these difficult days and what is life like in real big war. Because what Russia does now to Ukraine can only be equated to the times of the Second World War, with huge aviation shellings, with lots of bombs, mines, tortures, tanks, trenches. It's all very real. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine and to help us win. I am very proud of the team that made this film. The way they speak about this story, the way they represent Ukraine in the world is indeed beautiful. And if you are very sensitive and you feel it's difficult for you to watch the documentary, though I think it's a must, because it's difficult for you to watch. Imagine what is it to live in such realities, and there are millions of Ukrainians who live in them for more than 2 years, actually for 10 years since the start of invasion. And I like the way they speak about Ukraine. They represent our country, and it's an honor that so many global media, starting from New York Times, Washington, The Guardian, BBC, many more, use materials collected by the team. And now with this Oscar, I believe more attention will be on the 20 Days of Mariupol, Mstyslav Chernov, and all the beautiful people involved in its production. But if you feel it's too strong for you to watch the documentary itself, read some of the works, because Mstyslav Chernov is super talented. He's definitely very charismatic and even stylish. If you look at the stage, the way people look, I was really proud they are Ukrainians. And the messages that they send, they are very close to every Ukrainian heart. And there are so many stories untold, and so many people who did not manage to leave Mariupol. And now Russians trying to build fake facades, and they even sell real estate of killed and tortured people, advertising it on Russian television. It's awful. It returns us back to the most awful crimes of the 20th century. And I believed something like that is impossible, that we've learned their mistakes, but no. And films like 20 Days in Mariupol, they remind us about difficult realities. They show how real war is, and they are chronicles of modern history. And I'm sure they can also be used in The Hague, because this is a documentary film. And I am also happy that it is a strong message to Russian population who tries to hide all the information about war crimes. You know what they like? Russian soldiers writing on the walls of the cities they destroyed, where they tortured, raped, and killed people. They leave messages like, if you enjoyed it, then it was not a war crime. That is the message that Russia sends to the world. And the message that Ukraine sends to the world is in 20 Days in Mariupol. That we cannot forgive all this violence, all this cruelty to innocent children, maternity houses, schools, doctors, people, animals in the street, that was simply erased from the face of the earth in the 21st century, in the center of Europe, that believed it is a safe place. With Russia, with indifferent Russian population and Putin, we cannot be safe on this planet. And I'm really grateful that well-known organizations, Oscar, BAFTA, Sundance, understand that and support difficult for watching, but extremely important historical chronicles. And today I'm very proud that you have this opportunity to see. And once again, if you have strength, I ask you to do that. I'm not going to retell all the story, because it's not that much about story. It's about hundreds of stories of individual people trapped in the city during the siege, trapped for the reason they are Ukrainians, and Russians want to destroy everything. Starting from Ukraine, but not finishing with Ukraine. That's why the only choice that we have is to finish present Russian regime. Subscribe if you agree, if you're new to the channel. Read more about Oscar-winning Ukrainian film 20 Days in Mariupol, or watch it. Also join me on Instagram, Threads, X, and Discord. Remember to check our merch shop. All the links that you need are in the description of this video. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons, and supporting the channel. But most importantly, Thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!